Hello and welcome back to episode 4 of Alternate History in Doodle Empires. On turn 300 right now, still in the Age of Division, which is really pissing me off, and I've tried to turn it off if we go in game settings. Um, Age of Division is turned off, as well as Age of Unity, that's always been turned off. However, it doesn't normally seem to happen, and I will actually go ahead and turn up Age of Conflict to around. Actually, you know what? We'll turn it up to 3, why not, for this episode, and then I'll turn it back down to 2 afterwards. But to start off, we're going to see Bangladesh split, and, I guess they make Nepal, actually. Is Nepal somewhere around here? There's also another country that might be better suited. Actually, Nepal's more over here. Anyway, in this world, we now have this mountainous country of Nepal. As you know, this is Nepal, and they're hill dwellers, not mountaineers for some reason, which is pretty weird. We're going over to Tibet, which is will large expand, and I'm just going to continue expanding them in the mountains as they basically just follow the mountain borders as... Oh my goodness. As we see a pretty large Tibet form up here, as Tibet might be the biggest country in the world right now, as I'm pretty sure it is. I think another big player is the Kalmar Empire. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Tibet is by far the largest country on this world map, which I think is pretty funny because it's not very strong. Next, we're going to Romania, which is going to largely expand. Oh, this is what Romania needed. Romania, under the guidance of a brand new militaristic genius, launches its reconquest of its lost land as Romania returns and like we see Romania return to its former glory and become bigger than it ever has been, as it takes the city of Sofia, and the Greek Empire and the Crimean state are absolutely crippled by this rise of the brand new Romanian Empire. We see Somalia have a small split, as we see Somaliland, rebel, I guess, but like nobody cares. Nobody cares what Somaliland's trying to do. But anyway, we have Somaliland. And I apologize for not putting major cities, but I will put them in due time. It's just, I mean, the main areas is Europe right now, but whatever. Speaking of Europe, we're going to Rome, where we see Rome manage to defeat Tunisia and completely assimilate the whole of Tunisia inside the brand new reformed Roman Empire, which, for God's sake, which works pretty well, as they even take over a pretty good portion of Libya, as now Rome has a pretty big foothold in Africa. Next, we see Kiev actually go ahead and split, as we see over here that a new Lithuanian identity is, well, not Lithuanian identity, since they were technically the same culture, but we see the formation of a Lithuanian country up here, which is basically just Western Kiev. And we're going to go ahead and see Tibet continue to expand in the mountainous regions as they actually continue to expand down here. And just look at this huge Tibet, bro. Like, I don't know. What is Tibet's biggest city? Okay, I'm seeing a random city. Not a random city, that's horrible. I'm seeing a city called... What does that say? Hold on. Nagq. There we go. We now have Nagq, the capital of Tibet. Although that's probably not the capital, that's probably a bigger city. But you know what? There we go. Doesn't matter. Don't think anyone from Tibet's going to be watching this. And we go ahead and see Nepal unite, but the problem is... Okay, we're going to see unite... Tibet's... Never mind. We're actually not going to see Nepal unite with anyone because that will mess things up. But we go ahead and see Lithuania large expand as we see Lithuania... No, we don't! No, we don't, because Lithuania is going to break, and this game sucks, and I hate it, but I don't. We see people trying, we see the creation of an Ethiopia down here, as we see the southern part of Somalia rebel and take over that land. And then we see Prussia medium expand, as we see Prussia fight back against Kalmar and actually kick them out of northern Germany, as they actually go ahead and take over all of Denmark besides Copenhagen. As we see a pretty big Prussia start to form as they actually take these islands away from Finland. Next, we're going over to Texas, which will medium expand, as we see Texas push back the countries that had previously taken land from it. Next, we're going over to California, which will continue to push back down against Baja, but will mainly focus on expanding their territory alongside the western coast, having a pretty powerful Western Empire over there in Western America. Then we go over to Kiev, where we're going to see a new nation form, as I will finally do it, and I will finally go ahead and make a Chinese state. I wonder if I can get some okay, I'm going to search up historical Chinese countries. I wonder if I can... China's a region that's very rich with history, but I could probably just search up historical Chinese countries and go ahead and make them up. Well, why not? We go ahead and see the creation of the Han Dynasty up here, as I have no idea which dynasty this is. Is this the one that's popular in... No. And it's one of the early dynasties. But there we go. I didn't want to make China because, you know, I want to try to be different. But we see the creation of the Han Dynasty, which looks something like that. I don't know. There we go. The Han Dynasty, there we go. Basically China, but it's the Han Dynasty instead. Their leader is Aristotle. Is that Aristotle? Is that guy not Greek? Or like around this area, Mediterranean. We see Crimea adopt a religion, and they're just going to keep the same religion they have, to be honest. Then we're going to go see Korea adopt a religion, but did I break it? No. What the hell just happened? We're going over to Finland, where we're going to wait, and we're going to see Finland medium expand, as we see the Finland push into Prussia and take back this land, while they also simultaneously push into Novgorod and annoyingly don't wipe out the country completely, but Novgorod is basically wiped off the map by the Finnish Empire. And we can go back over to Finland, which thankfully get to completely wipe out Novgorod as they actually launch an invasion down into Lithuania, as they basically remove Lithuania from Lithuania. We're going over to Sumatra, which wants to have a small split, but I'm not letting it have one. We're almost at the Asia Division, which we end by almost going to Kiev, which also fights back against Lithuania, and would normally take it all, maybe takes it all. We see Kiev completely conquer Lithuania and, you know, put it back in the empire, as they mainly focus down here, launching many invasions into Romania, trying to, you know, get themselves a coastline, basically. Next, we go over to Greece, which have a small split. Is it finally time to release Turkey from Greek control? No, I think we're going to go over to the Balkans, where we're gonna go ahead and see the formation of Croatia. And there we go. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say. We basically see the formation of Croatia here, as this is a really ugly country. But, you know, there we go. We're looking Croatia. We're going over to Florida, where we see a large Floridian expand, as we see Florida completely reconquer Hispaniola for like the 100th time, and we see them defeat what is this country? Venezuela, in, you know, influence over the Caribbean, as they launch their dual invasion down here, as they focus on taking out the Central American Empire, hoping to take over the majority of its land, which they do take over a pretty good portion of Central America. Then going over to Sumatra, we see the medium expand, and, you know, they take over Sumatra, basically. Sumatra takes over Sumatra, and they actually take over this part of this peninsula down here. And we see Svalbard do nothing but trigger the Age of Conflict. Thank you, Svalbard. And we're going to go ahead and see Mexico small expand, as they take back some land previously lost from Florida down here, as Mexico expands its territory. When we see Eastern Greenland small expand, and will we finally see the day that Greenland is united under one government? And the answer is no. And we're going over to Rome, which we see medium expand, as we see Romania quickly take advantage of a weak Croatia, as Romania completely incorporates Croatia as its own country, which annoys the Greeks. However, the Greeks can't really do much about it, as the Greeks are facing their own issues, as we see Rome continue to, you know, try and get the last of these Libyan rebels, not rebels, but Libyan people to join the empire. And we see an instant split. Yep. No, I can't do Croatia. Actually, you know what? Screw it. We see Croatia instantly rise up with help from Greek, as we're just gonna say that after a war, the Greece fights Rome in order to release Croatia, and Croatia is released. So thanks, Greece. And we're going over to Ireland, which gets a large expand. And what is Ireland? We see Ireland, a country that has done basically nothing. Um, for a while, they were like the first country. We actually see them launch their own colonial, you know, attempt as they begin to set up Irish Brazil or Irish South America, which is a pretty large colony down here, which is probably the same size as Ireland itself. Coming over to Tibet, we see the medium expand as they push down into this area while continuing to expand their territory into basically anything that's a mountain. There we go. Oh my god, this thing is so big. What is this? Okay, there's a road pix for them. Let's get that. We see Lithuanian. Oh my god, I hate when countries are so small. It annoys me. We see the Kalmar Empire medium expand as we see them fight another war against Prussia. And they manage to be victorious, as they even managed to take over Eastern Prussia from, well, Prussia, and they get this land here, which, you know, is a pretty nice victory plan. However, we see over here they finally go ahead and expand their colony, as they actually go ahead and launch an invasion into Newfoundland, and unfortunately don't take it, which is really annoying because now we have Portugal. And there we go, we see Baja finally get to fight back, as Baja fights back against California, defeating them in a war before instantly turning on northern Mexico, which they managed to take the coastline from northern Mexico as northern Mexico begins to collapse. And we go over to Yemen, where we see a brand new nation form. And where are we going for this new nation? I don't really know. We're going to go over and we're going to form New Guinea. Maybe we can see a New Guinea powerhouse, although I'm not sure. And we see the creation of New Guinea over here, which I should be able to do the whole island. If not, well, we might be able to see the full island, maybe. But we see New Guinea. Actually, we see New Guinea with the whole island come to life. And there we go. We now have the country of New Guinea. There you go. Boom. New Guinea. Which I am going to do a different colour. There's not a pink in this world. So there we go. We see New Guinea as pink. And we're going over to California, which will medium expand, as we see California fight Baja again in this back and forth war, as they manage to inflict a deadly defeat on them. And, you know, take back some of their land. And we see New Guinea actually found their religion. Found a religion. As we see the religion of... Did I call that New Guinea? Is it meant to be Papua New Guinea? No, it's New Guinea. No. Wait. What is New Guinea? New Guinea is an island in Australia. Papua New Guinea. Okay, the country's Papua New Guinea. But then Papua... Oh, is this just Papua? I'll probably call this Papua. So we're going to see Papauism. And, you know, I'm assuming New Guinea is the name it was given by the Europeans. So this is Papua. I'm sorry if that's the wrong name, but, you know, that's what it's going to be. And we see Persia finally expand, as we see Persia expand its land eastward. However, they do defeat the Caucasus country up there in the north. And we're going over to Ireland, which for some reason is here, as we see Ireland actually take over these islands here. They won't try to fight Portugal, but they will continue to go ahead and expand their colony down the South American coast. As I don't really know what area of land would be the best to go, but I'm just putting them in Brazil, so that's the easiest place to go. Next, we're going over to Papua, which will small expand, as we see them take over some islands down here, and we'll see them basically, you know, just explore all these islands, and we basically see the formation of a mini Papua empire, but not really. I'm actually going over to the Kalmar Union, where we're actually going to go ahead and see one of the members split, and that is Iceland, which is going to declare independence from the Kalmar Union. And do they take their colonies with them? I'm going to say that the Kalmar Union actually keeps Greenland and the colonies in North America, and it's only mainland Iceland which rebels. Now going over to Central America, we see them fight back against Florida and the European Venezuela, as they managed to inflict deadly defeat, almost kicking Venezuela completely, out of existence, leaving them only to here, which I'm pretty sure is not Venezuela, but whatever. And we go over to Papua, which unite. No, they're not going to unite with anyone. That's a silly idea. We're going over to Vietnam, which we're going to see Vietnam expand, or we're not because it broke. Hold on, click that. Wait a few seconds, then draw a card. And we see Iceland's pool expand, as we see Iceland actually launch its invasion into the Kalmar Union and decide that they're just going to take Greenland themselves. And we see Iceland launch an invasion into southern Greenland. And we go over to the Caucasus, where they completely knock out Greek land as they actually take over all of the Crimean country up here, and they win, and they take that land from Greece, and they continue to push up into modern day Russia, as this is technically a Caucasus country, so they will gain land in the Caucasus, but pretty big country down here. That's actually a pretty big, that's probably one of the biggest countries in Europe, so that's actually pretty interesting to see. Now I'm actually going to call this the Caucasus Horde, as this country is now a horde. Wow, how interesting. And we see the Red Empire large expand, as we see the Red Empire continue to just, just expand their land, really, I guess. They don't really go to war with anyone, as they're still trying to consolidate their borders. However, they are getting nice and big. We go over to the Han Dynasty, which is supposedly going to unite with a country, although I don't see anyone to unite with. I don't really want to unite them with the Tibet. I'm kind of liking this giant Tibet. But we're going over to Papua, which will large expand, and we see Papua actually, basically begin owning parts of Australia, which is pretty cool. However, we do see them launch an invasion into Borneo and take over a pretty good portion of Borneo and even some of Philippines. As we see the Papuan Empire is declared, as we see the rise of a new regional power over in Eastern Asia. And we're going into Somalia, which will small expand, as we see Somalia beat back Ethiopia, which will unfortunately get to live another day, as this area down here is Portugal. Going over to Romania, which will adopt a religion, but hopefully I'm just going to make them adopt their own religion. We actually see Romania, we see the Romanian religion randomly disappear because I don't like it, and we actually see Kievism spread, which is nice because I don't want too many religions. Then going over to the Caucasus Horde, I might have messed this up, please tell me I didn't. Okay, we see the Caucasus Horde have a large expand, as we see the Caucasus Horse begin their invasion up into Europe, as, they threaten Kiev and actually take Moldova from Romania, there we go, couldn't think. We actually then launch an invasion of Greece, as we have this brand new Asian power emerging, which is trying to launch its invasion into Europe. Next, we see Finland large expand, as we see Finland wipe Russia off the map, as there will be no Russia, and we see them launch, we see them declare war on the Nordic Union, the Kalmar Empire, and take over Sapmi, or the majority of Sapmi. Well, I should probably make them take this land, but whatever. Then we go over to Greenland, which we're going to see Greenland fight back. Yay, I love this war. We see Greenland, this dark green Greenland, take back the capital, as they basically just revert like the previous episode, which is great. And we see Korea unite with someone, but I don't think any of these countries over here would unite at the moment. I like them separate. We see Californian large expand, as we see them take the capital of Baja, as my plan for this is for them to completely conquer Baja. As, hold on, are there any Baja pixels? There are some there. I don't see any left on the map. However, we also do see them conquer northern Mexico, as they actually fight a war with Texas and take over a pretty good chunk of land, while they do also, expand, I guess, just there. And we now have absolutely ginormous California, which might be one of the top powers in the world, maybe. Not super high, but, maybe that top 5. And we're going over to Prussia, Poland, which isn't Prussia anymore. No, it isn't Poland anymore, it's just Prussia, which we're going to see them large expand. And we see Prussia take back their land, lost by the Kalmar Union, as they fight another war with Kalmar, which they win, and almost take over all of Denmark. And we also see them fight off France, which they have a decisive victory and actually take over the Netherlands territory. And now we actually have a formidable Prussia, which I'm not going to call Germany because I like Russia. And then we go over to Sumatra, which is founding its own religion, which I'm going to call Sumatraism. And I guess I'll do a nice purple. There we go. And then if I go to the next thing, wait a second, we're going over to Rome, where what we're going to see Rome do, we go ahead and see Rome expand their territory, as we see Rome, we see them reinvade Croatia, which they so rudely lost either this episode or the last one, I can't remember. And we see them finally finish off the Libyan country over here and even take some land from Sinai. And we also see them fight a war with Portugal, in which they take Algiers and I was going to say these islands, but they don't. We go over to Mexico, which will unite with the country. They wouldn't reunite with Texas, I'm sorry, own identities, I'm sorry. We go over to Ethiopia, which will have a small split, although it won't, and I mean. We go over to Venezuela, which will small expand, as we see Venezuela somehow manage to make a comeback, getting some land from the brown country. And then we go over to the lime country, which will fight back and completely eradicate Newfoundland off the map, as they fight off the Nordic Union, which they completely kick out of continental Northern America, as basically almost all European influence is gone, bar Venezuela and I guess the Irish. But in North America, basically all the Europeans have been kicked out, which is actually pretty fire, I'm not gonna lie. Going over to Greece, we see Greece small expand, as we see Greece take back Cyprus, and we basically see Greece just take back Sophia as well, as the Greek Empire has been greatly reduced in its might. You know who hasn't? Poland. Poland takes this land from Prussia, as they actually go ahead and take all of Eastern Prussia down here, and you know, Poland is like, you know what, Prussia, screw you, and I'm back when they've taken half the territory. And this is where we go over to Florida, where we see Florida launch an invasion of Venezuela, which annoys the brown country, and Venezuela's like, okay, I'll invade you too. And no, not Venezuela, Florida's like, I'll invade you too, and takes over some land. And Florida's border still looks pretty weird, but whatever. And then we go over to Portugal, where please tell me Portugal's going to do something cool. We see Portugal small expand, which is basically just going to be them take back their land. However, they do set up a colony, probably. We see them take... Actually, no, I don't want to fight the Irish. Well, I guess we go ahead and see Portugal set up a little colony here, which I guess they'll expand as they compete with the Irish up here. And they do actually, you know, secretly take some land from Florida, although it's not really a full-scale conflict. And we see the Red Empire medium expand, and we see the Red Empire has geared for war, and they launch their full-on invasion into the Lime Country, which they successfully do. And they basically migrate the Lime Country out the Lime Country, as the Lime Country is now turned up here. They just exist here, I guess, but they're natives. And this should also probably have an N in its name to, you know, tell that this is Native Americans and not European power, basically. And next, for turn 368, we're going over to the... What? The Hispaniolan Empire has 2 pixels. They're founding a religion. Hell no. Okay, next. Next we go over to California, where we see their medium expand, as we see California take over Hawaii, and they fight a war with Mexico, in which they annex a lot of northern Mexico, as the Californian Empire is looking absolutely ginormous. Next we go over to Yemen, which medium expands, and what Yemen does is they go ahead and take Somaliland and push in to Somalia, being the Yemen Empire. And then we go over to Finland, which medium expands, which we see Finland launch an invasion into Poland, in which they successfully go ahead and conquer all of the Baltic coast of Poland. And we also see them fight another war with Kalmar, in which they take some land. And just look at this Finland, bro. Finland is like the biggest country in Europe. Like, I mean, we still got to watch out for the Caucasus Horde. They're going over to Greenland. We go ahead and see that this Greenland goes ahead and, you know, blah, 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 whatever. Then going over to California. We see California large expand. As we see California launch an invasion into Texas, in which they have tremendous victories as they actually managed to defeat and annex the whole of the Texan country, as Florida, no, it's California, continues its expansion down into Mexico. And just look at that, bro. Now the biggest country in the entire world is now California. Never thought I would say that, to be honest. And we go over to Japan, which is going to have a split, actually, as we see the creation of Taiwan over here. But just because I actually have no idea what this island and this place is called, and I'm not going to go ahead and find out. And we go over to Ethiopia, which goes ahead and unites with Somalia, because whatever. And yeah, sure, whatever. Then we go over to the Lime country, which large expands, as we see the Lime country take back a good portion of its land from the Red country in another war, basically resetting the progress of the Red country. However, we do see them continue to expand up here into the Quebec. Then going over to Bangladesh, we see Bangladesh found its own religion, which is going to be called Bangladeshism. Because if we actually look at faith mode, I'll look at faith mode and origin mode in a second, but there we go. And then if we go into faith mode and we look at the faiths, we just wait a load. I mean, the main faith is Muslim, I guess, although Portugalism needs to be a much darker green. Hello, why can you not? You can't edit religions and it annoys me. But these are different religions. Let me change this, please. Let me change this. Okay, well, just keep in mind that this green blob may look the same, but Portugal is different. But the main religion, I guess, is Muslim, which isn't really a religion. But I think every other religion, apart from Kiev, is all which is one country. But yeah, if we go to origin mode, we can see that, I mean, this is from Baja. The Baja culture, I guess, is far and wide, apparently. There's only one city in this whole place. But, I mean, I guess Rome is still, like, a pretty big player in European culture. Like, Kiev, for some reason, is still considers itself Roman. However, over here, we do have the Persia, which is the culture of the Horde, apparently. And also, we still have the Irish Empire kicking about in Kalmar and in France. And also, for some reason, blimmin' Florida's... Well, not Florida, but thingy's there. If we go over to political mode, we still have 23 turns to go. For this episode, we're going into Lime Country, which will large expand. And we actually just go ahead and see them expand up into this area. However, they do go ahead and take some land away from the Red Empire, as these two countries are basically equal land now. Then we go to Sri Lanka, where we see a split, where we see the birth of Myanmar, however you want to pronounce it. You go for it, girl. Which I will do a dark red, as it's, I'll just do, you know, all this land, I guess. And yeah, that's about it. Then we go over to Ecuador, which will be adopting a religion. It's not really a native religion, but I guess that'll be Muslim because it's the only nearby religion. Then we go, oh, fuck's sake. Well, we see Finland that would normally have a large expand, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't work. And yeah, it doesn't. So, you know, whatever. Rip Finland. We see Prussia have a small split, as we see the Netherlands actually come back to life as a nice orange country. Although I'm going to have to change that colour. And there we go. We see Netherlands come back to life. And it's going to be a nice teal colour. Then we go over to the Lime country, which has a small expand, which I'm just going to continue to, you know, expand its land up here. And I'm assuming this is... Oh, it's a mountaineer. That's weird. Zealous, I don't know what that means. We go over to Persia, which unites with a country. No, it doesn't unite with a country. That's the stupidest thing I've heard. Maybe we can go to the Caucasus Horde? Never mind. We see Tibet adopts a religion. That's a big player. And the only nearby religion is Bangladeshism. As Bangladeshism probably becomes the second biggest religion, just because of Tibet. We go over to the Kalmar Empire, where we see them split again, as we see Sweden leave the Kalmar Union. The problem is, I would make it Norway, but like, if I made it Norway, then I couldn't give the colonies, and I think I'm gonna keep the colonies with Norway and the Kalmar Union. So we basically see Sweden end up leaving, well, the Kalmar Union looking something like that. As Sweden exists, and this is no longer the Kalmar Empire, and it's rather the Norwegian Empire, which becomes a brand new color, to commemorate this as a brown color. As you see, the Norwegian Empire exists, which owns basically northern Denmark. And there we go. The Kalmar Union is gone. And we go over to France, which medium expands as we see France take over the Netherlands and fight back against Prussia in the decisive war in which they take over a pretty good chunk of land. Next, we go over to the Red Empire, which activates the Age of Conflict right at the end of this episode. This is beautiful. We go over to France, which medium expands. And we see France launch their invasion into Rome as they split Rome into two. As we see the French Empire stretch all across Europe. Well, not really. No. Then we go over to the Portugal, which large expands. As we see Portugal go ahead and declare war on Florida and quickly take over a large portion of their colonies, taking over Hispaniola. And even the whole island of Cuba, as we see Florida is completely is no match for Portugal. And we also see Portugal launch an invasion of the Central American Empire, which is no longer in Central America, as we actually see them take over the majority of Colombia. And Portugal is now back in America, and it has a pretty large presence and has crippled Florida. And then we go over to Poland, which we see split. No, you're not Poland, you're too small for that. Then we go over to Ethiopia, which we see medium expand. We see Ethiopia expands into, actual Ethiopia, and decides to get a new color because that's annoying me. See Ethiopia become this. See Ethiopia become this weird looking color, and then we go over to Persia, which we see Persia split. And I don't really know where else it could split. I guess we can make an Iraq, not Iraq, Iran, like Italy, Iran, Iraq. No, Iraq. Is that how you say it? Iraq? Sorry if I'm wrong. Iraq, which is going to be here. Yeah, I don't think that's really in Iraq. It's more over here. You know what? Whatever. We see Iraq small expand. Oh, well, thanks, game. We see Iraq export become in Iraq, whatever. And there we go. And where's the capital of Iraq? Maybe I should add that. Which we go to Iraq, and we see Baghdad. I don't even know where Baghdad is. Like here, I think it's spelled like that. Then we go over to Bangladesh for turn 395, where we see them make it a new leader. Then we go over to California, as we see California large expand, as we see California take advantage of a weakened Florida and a pretty weak Mexico as they continue their expansion down south and take over the whole Mexico, as well as Floridian claims in Central America, as this is just an enormous country. Like, what? That's absolutely huge. Then we go ahead and go over to Sumatra, which we see Sumatra large expand as they take over all of this island here, and they even have a fight with Borneo, in which they take over the whole of this island here, and they even pick a fight with Myanmar and take over the whole country. Or do they? What are these weird rogue pixels? Are those just really high mountains? Are those just really high mountains? We go over to Svalbard, which for some reason wants to expand, as we see Svalbard basically become a weird looking Arctic empire. I don't know what it's doing, but whatever. As we see Svalbard expand its territory, which I really hope Norway gets to unite and I can give it Svalbard or Finland. And we see Sinai small expand as I'll just push them further inland, as they probably should be further inland. Then we go over to Nepal, which we see Nepal expand, as we see Nepal is cornered, so they go ahead and actually launch their invasion of both countries simultaneously. They're ruining Tibet. How dare they? Then we go over to Japan, which small expands, as we see Japan actually launch an invasion of Taiwan, in which it takes the whole island, and we actually see it launch an invasion into Korea, and it takes this land from Korea over here. We go over to Sinai, which medium expand. Oh my god, I'm over 400 turns. I apologize, everyone. We see Sinai go ahead and take Cyprus, as they also launch an invasion into Roman Africa and take this part of Libya. And we now see the empire getting pretty big. But I'm going to stop there, and here is our world map. And I think by far There's been a new power that has risen through this episode, and that is California, which has conquered, like, I don't know, 5 countries and become the biggest country on the map, which I'm going to say is number 1. Although Europeans are probably more advanced, like, imagine how many people live here. Like, pretty crazy, pretty huge empire, pretty powerful. Then I think in number 2, I'm probably just going to have to give it to Portugal. They have their new colonial empire, pretty strong country. Then number 3, probably go to France. Then number 4 to Finland. Then number 5 to the Horde, probably. Something like that. Might be different. The Horde might be stronger than some countries. Finland might be stronger than France. But, you know, France's recent success shows it's a pretty military power. And we might see the return of the Irish next episode. That's going to do it for episode 4. I don't know why I'm loving doing this so much. I'm going to record another one. Something's wrong with me. Someone help me.